After having finished up my positional rankings in my previous videos, all of which will be linked in the description below, so make sure to go check them out if you haven't already, I'm now moving on to something a bit different. Instead of focusing on individual positions, for today's video we will be taking a look at the sixth man from every NBA team and ranking them from best to worst, obviously limiting it to one bench player per team. Before we start though, make sure to subscribe to the channel as all support is very much appreciated. Now with that being said, let's begin. Starting at the bottom with number 30, we have Ish Smith, sixth man of the Washington Wizards. The Wizards are unfortunately one of the least talented teams in the NBA going into next season, with the least depth, especially without John Wall. Smith has been a decent backup point guard in his career, but his lack of size leading to defensive struggles and his efficiency issues leave him on the bottom of this list. At number 29, we have Josh Okogie of the Minnesota Timberwolves. Okogie had a nice rookie season last year that surprised a lot of people, especially on the defensive end, which is where most of his impact is made as an on-ball defender. His offensive game still needs a lot of work and refining, but he's definitely got a bright future ahead of him. At number 28, we have Tyler Johnson of the Phoenix Suns. Johnson was notoriously handed a fairly large contract before he even really did much to earn it, under the assumption that he had potential to develop into a highly productive player. Since then though, he's had some decent moments at times, but for the most part is a mediocre at best rotation player. At number 27, we have Michael Kidd-Gilchrist of the Charlotte Hornets. He was the number 2 pick back in 2012 and at this point is approaching bust status. He's been labeled a defensive specialist and he admittedly does a solid job on that end, but offensively he just does not bring much to the table. At number 26, we have Austin Rivers of the Houston Rockets. Rivers is used in spurts to spell James Harden and now Russell Westbrook instead of Chris Paul as a playmaker, and while he does sometimes hit some big timely shots and put up good numbers off the bench, he's far too inconsistent to be considered a top sixth man. At number 25, we have Mike Scott of the Philadelphia 76ers. Scott has become a bit of a legend in Philadelphia because of his personality off the floor, but on the floor he's a reliable three-point shooter that makes over 40% of his attempts, and that floor spacing will be very essential to Philly's rotations this season. At number 24, we have Royce O'Neale of the Utah Jazz. O'Neale doesn't have a flashy game and isn't necessarily a shot creator or big-time playmaker, but he does an excellent job knocking down shots within the flow of the offense, and on defense, he's one of the team's most reliable options on the perimeter. At number 23, we have Patty Mills of the San Antonio Spurs. Mills is another three-point specialist that has become incredibly reliable within the Spurs system, and he runs the second unit under Greg Popovich well without forcing too much or making too many mistakes. At number 22, we have George Hill of the Milwaukee Bucks. Hill is getting up there in age, and while his production may be on the downslope, he still did a very good job running the Bucks' second unit and giving them good minutes off the bench, especially in the playoffs, where he played very efficient basketball and increased his production across the board from the regular season. At number 21, we have Reggie Bullock of the New York Knicks. Bullock carved a role for himself in the league as a 3-and-D wing player, but the issue with that is that last year he struggled a bit shooting the ball, especially after getting traded to the Lakers. He needs a good bounce-back season in New York this year, because otherwise he may fall further down the list. At number 20, we have Rodney Hood of the Portland Trail Blazers. Speaking of wing players and bounce-back seasons, Hood had exactly that last year, especially in the playoffs. He gave the Blazers very good minutes off the bench in the playoffs, hitting numerous big-time shots, and when the team made it all the way to the conference finals, he played a pretty good role in that. At number 19, we have Dion Waiters of the Miami Heat. Waiters Island has been missed over the last few seasons as he struggled with injuries for most of each of the last 2 years. Even when he's been on the court, he's struggled with conditioning and just hasn't been the same player. He's going into this season healthy for the first time in a while, and because of it, could be in for a nice bounce-back season. At number 18, we have Jordan Clarkson of the Cleveland Cavaliers. Clarkson put up big scoring numbers off the bench last year, averaging about 17 per game, but it was mostly due to the freedom to shoot a lot with a big green light. His efficiency was still hovering below league average, and especially with the Cavs being near the bottom of the standings, his production didn't necessarily impress me enough to put him in the top half of this list. At number 17, we have Jabari Parker of the Atlanta Hawks. Parker's career has been very unfortunate as he has suffered 2 ACL tears already, which has greatly hampered his play. Despite that though, he can still be a fairly reliable shot creator, especially off the bench, and alongside a fun young Atlanta Hawks group, he'll be looking to turn his career around and have some fun along the way. At number 16, we have Bogdan Bogdanovic of the Sacramento Kings. Bogdanovic has had a nice 2 years in the league so far, scoring the ball and showing off a wide array of moves and shot creation. As is the case with most young players, he could improve upon his consistency in order to improve as a player, but for the most part, he gives the Kings a nice punch off the bench. At number 15, we have Tim Hardaway Jr. of the Dallas Mavericks. Hardaway might start this year, but there will be a ton of competition at the other wing spot on the Mavs, and his best role is probably as a bench scoring option. He's definitely not shy when it comes to getting his shots up and can put up 20 points on any given night, but his issue comes in the form of inefficiency, as shooting 39% is pretty poor. In a reduced role, that number should increase, and his shot creation would be vital to the Mavs bench. At number 14, we have Willie Cauley-Stein of the Golden State Warriors. With DeMarcus Cousins gone, the Warriors' center rotation will be between Willie and Kevon Looney, and with Looney's success with the team over the last few years and familiarity the team has with his game, Willie will likely come off the bench. He's improved a ton as an offensive player, finishing well around the rim and developing some nice moves down low to create looks for himself, and with the Warriors' bench being somewhat depleted compared to years past, that will be very important. At number 13, we have Dennis Schroeder of the Oklahoma City Thunder. Schroeder before the season was one of the favorites to win the 6th Man of the Year award last year, but he really didn't live up to the hype. He did put up decent numbers on the year, but his shot selection was questionable, and he didn't make as big of an impact as a playmaker as many thought that he would. At number 12, we have JJ Redick of the New Orleans Pelicans. Redick is getting up there in age, but he's still one of the best shooters in the whole league. He's at his best running around screens and works really well off the ball, but when his shot isn't falling, he fails to impact the game very much anywhere else. At number 11, we have Andre Iguodala of the Memphis Grizzlies. Iggy has been a phenomenal 6th man for years in Golden State, but he too is getting up there in age and is on the decline. He also might not be on the Grizzlies for long, as a team might try to trade for him, but if he does stay, he is still very capable of playing solid two-way play for a team. Starting off the top 10 6th men in the league now, we have Terrence Ross of the Orlando Magic. The Magic hadn't made the playoffs in years, but last season, thanks to a variety of factors, very much including Ross's scoring punch off the bench and shot-making ability, they made it back to the postseason for the first time in a while. His 15 points per game and reliable perimeter shooting put him in the upper echelon of 6th men. At number 9, we have Jerami Grant of the Denver Nuggets. Grant had a massive breakout season last year, showing off a very good all-around game, especially on the defensive end. He can guard multiple positions, is an excellent athlete that excels in transition, and his three-point shot has come a long way from where it was when he first came into the league, and will be a very valuable addition to the Nuggets team that was already pretty deep last year. At number 8, we have Derrick Rose of the Detroit Pistons. As we all know at this point, Rose has been through a lot over the years as a player, but last year he showed very positive signs, being able to turn his misfortune around and make a positive impact on the floor. His ability to beat players off the dribble and finish at the rim is back to being deadly, and for a Pistons team that lacks shot creation, he's going to have a major role on the team. At number 7, we have Thaddeus Young of the Chicago Bulls. On a Bulls team filled with young, inexperienced talent, Young will be a much-needed veteran presence that does a lot of the little things teams need players to do. As both a locker room presence and a player, he'll be great for the growth of the Bulls players around him. At number 6, we have Spencer Dinwiddie of the Brooklyn Nets. To put it simply, Dinwiddie is a big-time shot maker that you can just give the ball and get out of his way. The Nets made some big splashes this summer, adding Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant, and while those two will be running the show most of the time when Durant's healthy, Dinwiddie will be holding down the second unit and doing a damn good job doing so. Starting off the top 5 of this list now, we have Kyle Kuzma of the Los Angeles Lakers. Kuzma surprised everyone as a rookie when he came out and showed off the ability to make shots at a high level, but last season he kind of took a step back. He averaged more points at about 19 per game, but he also took more shots and made a much lower percentage of them, especially from 3. Next season on a Lakers team with very big aspirations, he's going to need to take smarter shots as well as improve as a defender, because at the moment those are his 2 major weaknesses. At number 4, we have Marcus Smart of the Boston Celtics. Smart is the kind of player every team would love to have because he plays all out every time he's on the floor and has the talent to match it. He's an elite defensive player on the wing, and while his jump shot used to be pretty bad, it has shown some good signs of improvement lately, and he's always been one of the most reliable players on the Celtics. At number 3, we have Domantas Sabonis of the Indiana Pacers. Sabonis is a highly skilled big man that gives the Pacers a very reliable option in the post, great rebounding, and he's an underrated passer for a big man, and until Victor Oladipo comes back from his injury, he's going to be very heavily featured in the offense. At number 2, we have Fred VanVleet of the Toronto Raptors. In the playoffs, especially in the finals, we saw exactly why VanVleet is so high in this ranking. He gives the Raptors big-time shot-making ability off the dribble, and on one of the biggest stages of the game, he didn't miss a beat, hitting countless big-time shots. He's just a big-time player that has a very bright future ahead of him. And finally, at number 1 on this list, we have Lou Williams of the Los Angeles Clippers. This was such an obvious choice, as the 3-time winner of the 6th Man of the Year award has only gotten better with age. He's so smooth and difficult to guard off the dribble, and will put up 20 points with ease from game to game. With the Clippers hoping to bring home a title this year, he's going to be holding down the deadly second unit the team has and light it up. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel, and check out the player ranking videos I have linked in the description. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.